Hi, this is Denise Matthew, and welcome to another part of HT 101, How to Read Your Human Design Chart. I just wanted to let you know that if you wanted to slow down the speed of my voice, it's an easy thing to do. Just do it on the playback speed as I'm showing here, and it will be an experience tailor-made for you.
So I already did talk about the ajna and the whole belief system, how when you have a fixed ajna or you have a defined ajna, that you're more likely to be able to hold on to beliefs. But not only that, because you have this fixed energy, you're more able to memorize information and hold on to fixed values and beliefs despite things changing. What happens is, and we're seeing a lot of this in the world as it stands now, there's fixed beliefs, and then you have, so if we're thinking about 30% of the population have this defined ajna, so they have this fixed beliefs, and they're also transmitting this energy to everybody who has open ajna. So in other words, when you're in the aura of somebody with a defined ajna, there's potential for you to adopt these beliefs. Now, the younger you are and the less you've sort of been in the world and been experienced different energies, different beliefs based on the beliefs that are being transmitted from the defined ajnas, you can be more or less influenced by this energy. And even if you do have a defined ajna and you do have more of a fixed belief system, that doesn't mean you can't change it. It does mean that sometimes there's a little more effort for you to sort of adopt these changes and bring them into your whole belief system. So if you can imagine that we have somebody with fixed beliefs and then we have somebody with fluid beliefs, somebody with fluid beliefs or an open ajna who has been in the world and is open to different possibilities, is open to different ideas. But then you have somebody who has a fixed idea that says, no, this is the way it is, there is no other way. This is where we get into the whole concept of the ajna. And when we look at the ajna and we see the gates of the ajna, we can see why in humanity we have a lot of these sort of clashes of, we call them clashes of wills, but I would say they're clashes of ajnas, which means somebody has this belief that this is the way it is and there is no changing in what it is. So this other person is saying, no, that's not exactly the case. And when I look through the gate, I'll look at the gates in just a minute after we talk about the undefined ajna, but I'm just going to show you through the gates how we can have these belief systems or these beliefs that can definitely have a clash between somebody who's open and somebody who's defined. When we talk about the defined ajna, where we talked about the head center needing to be connected to the ajna. So in other words, if you have a defined head, you're automatically going to have a defined ajna. Now the defined ajna can be connected to the head, or it also could be defined by being connected to the throat. That's the whole thing about definition, is it's always some connection to another center, and that's how you get your definition. When we talk about the undefined ajna, we're talking about a more fluid expression of beliefs. So beliefs can come and go. So you might have grown up in a certain environment and this is the way things are, this is what you were taught, and then you get out of that environment, you go and live somewhere else, and suddenly your beliefs have changed, and then you go home and people say, what happened to you? Why do you used to believe this, that, and the other thing? And they can't understand it. But what happens is you are no longer in the aura of the belief system that you started out with, that you were brought up in. Now, how do we get defined beliefs? Well, we get defined beliefs when we have a defined ajna. We get that from our early experiences. And again, a lot of people talk about the first 7 years of life, and it's where we learn the most about the world around us, how we're treated in the world. It's where we learn if we're going to be nurtured. It's where we learn if we're going to be cared for. It's where we learn if we're going to be loved. It's about learning that, are we going to have shelter? Are we going to have food on the table? Are we going to be warm? Are we going to have a blanket to sleep with? You know, there's all those kind of things that we learn, and that is going to affect how our beliefs are. And so in other words, we're going to learn religion if religion is in our house. We're going to learn the beliefs on people. Like, so we could talk about, oh, those kind of people are not our people. These kind of people are our people. So we can learn about all those kind of things that we see in the world around us. And if you think about somebody with a defined ajna, they're learning about those things and they are going to be imprinted because now they're going to be fixed. Nobody comes into the world, as far as I know. I mean, we have this whole nature versus nurture. Nobody comes in the world with extremely fixed beliefs. That's something that they're taught, or the environment where they learn it. So they have this, and then they get a fixed belief, and then they transmit those fixed beliefs to somebody else. So think about it. If you have fixed beliefs and you have a defined ajna, and your beliefs were based on somebody being not the same as you, and they're not as good as you because they're not like you or whatever, and that's what you're teaching another. Say you have a child with a defined ajna, so now that's a fixed belief going to a fixed belief. And somebody with an open ajna may adopt those beliefs for some time, but then later on they may decide, no, that's not what I actually believe. I believe something different. Because again, it's all about these imprints that we get when we have an open ajna or an open center of any kind. The imprints are there. It's like a memory. We feel the energy, we understand the energy, and if we're getting a constant flow of this energy, we're going to get more imprinted by this energy. It would make sense. Do we want to keep it or let it go? That's our choice. We can, because we have the more fluid expression. Now, when we think about this, the ajna is all about certainty or uncertainty. Somebody with a defined ajna may not necessarily have to feel certain about everything. Somebody with an undefined ajna, you think about that, 70% of the population have an undefined ajna, which means 70% of the population have this level of uncertainty and this anxiety about uncertainty. So knowing that your certainty is not part of an actual thing that we can as humans always expect certain things to happen, because life and the world and all those kind of things, we can have change in 1 minute, and we can never know what's certain. So although somebody with a defined ajna might have less concern about this whole certainty of life, someone with an undefined ajna could have this whole idea that life has to be certain, and they want to be certain about things, and it can be almost paralyzing. So when you have an undefined ajna, the most important thing is to try and release that sense that you need to be certain about everything, because certainty is a fleeting thing that we can probably never ever actually hold on to for more than a second. You know, if you sit at a table and you have your meal in front of you, well, you're pretty certain you're going to eat that meal. But who knows? Somebody might come over and knock the plate off the table, and you may not be able to eat that meal. So that is the nature of the beast. And if we can see that, we can't always be certain about things, because especially in the times that we're living in now, this whole idea that we want to be certain, we want to know what's going to happen, but we don't, it will give a lot less stress. And so it's allowing the energy to flow, and whatever shows up in our life, we will work with it as we can. And of course there are things that we will have plans for, but if we can adopt the concept that we can allow things to be as they are and release this concept that we need the certainty, then that can help. And when we think about an open ajna as opposed to a defined ajna, we can also imagine that the memory, or just kind of memorizing data and things like that, might be a little bit more difficult for somebody with a open ajna. And that's only because, again, energy in, energy out. And in that case, this whole memorization, somebody with a open ajna can think of more creative ways to try and remember information. They could use certain techniques that work for them so that they can remember the information. And also, practice will always make something, like I said, this whole imprint of a memory, so that you start to memorize things that you need. But there could be a frustration with, oh, I knew it yesterday, but now I don't know it. So to know that it may not be as easy for you to remember the things, but after repetition, you will definitely get it at some point. And if we also look at the idea that if we have an open head and ajna, because the head is a pressure center, that's pushing down on the ajna. So there could be even more pressure to be certain about things. And this can cause even more stress. So sometimes just letting the energy go, understanding that being certain is not part of your design, and letting it go as much as you can, and continuing to, every time you start to feel like, I need to know things, I need to be certain about everything, understanding that's not part of who you are, and letting it go. So if we look at the gates of the Ajna, we have some really important energy of belief. So if we look at the gate 47, it's all about the mindset. So when we talk about the mindset, we're talking about what is my belief about how the world is around me. And if I believe that the world is a scary and mean place, then is that what shows up in my reality? Because based on the gate 47, they say what you believe is a lot of times what you see. So whether or not that actually, manifests in the real world, that's the belief on the gate 47. Then we look at the gate 24, rationalizing. This is all about rationalizing your beliefs, rationalizing that this is okay to do or this isn't okay to do. So that's what we're talking about, another part of the belief system. The gate 4 is all about having the answer. Now, if you think about somebody with a defined or an undefined ajna, and they have the gate 4 and they always want the answer, give me the answer, give me the answer, but there's in this, I need the certainty of the answer, and you don't have the certainty. So that can be a little bit of a troubling kind of energy to work with. But again, these are all the shadow sides of the energy, and there's a lot of positivity to this energy. And I do, as we go on, I have a whole list of all the different gates and what the some key words with the gates, so that will come soon, but I'm just giving a little bit of a blurb right now. The gate 17 is all about opinions. Now, this is about my opinion, my belief. And so you can imagine somebody with a defined ajna, they will have some fixed opinions, some fixed beliefs, and somebody who has an undefined ajna may have some more fluidity in their beliefs and their opinions. So then we have the gate 43. The gate 43 is sort of somebody who is ahead of their time in what they think. This could be somebody who can, by the tone of their voice, people can read exactly how they're feeling. And there's just a lot of different energy with this thing. And it's called breakthrough, which means that you have these sort of eureka ideas that are unusual and kind of innovative and far-reaching, but not everybody gets them at the time that you're ready to deliver them. Gate 11 is the gate of ideas. It's also the gate of having such an abundance of ideas that it's almost like too much that you don't even know what to do with them. Now, these ideas aren't manifest. These are just ideas. Anything that's in the ajna is something that we're just thinking about. Nothing ever comes into being based on the human design system until it gets to the throat and it gets the energy. And a lot of the energy of the ajna is all about timing. It's like the right time to have manifestations happen in our life.